Right. So we're going to work on lesson 81 today. Before you start, I want to make sure it's extremely important today that you've read page 519 through 521 and done the paper folding activity. You can do the paper folding activity on page 521 with any piece of paper. Make sure that you've done steps 1 through 4 before you start working on this lesson. And as I go to each letter, like A, B, C, D, and E, I want you to pause the video and see if you can estimate with your paper folding activity what the angle is before I explain how to find the angle. Estimates, all right? The directions on page 521 say using the paper you folded in this lesson, estimate the measure of each angle in problems A through D. First, find an angle on the paper that is a close match to the angle you are measuring. Then match the corner and one side of the paper with the corner and one side of the angle. If the angle is larger or smaller than the paper angle, estimate how much larger or smaller. Add or subtract from your paper measurement to get a final estimate. Please do that before you go through each problem with me on this lesson. You can pause it after I switch to B, after I switch to C, and after I switch to D, and do that estimate before I work through how to solve this with an estimate. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with letter A. And I'm going to show you a couple measurements that we can use to help us figure out the angle. So we know that if I have a line going up here, I'm going to go back a little bit and try to draw this a little straighter. So we want to make sure that this goes straight up. So we're going to pretend that this is a right angle. And when you have a right angle, half of that right angle is 45 degrees. So that's about half right there, all right? So this blue line, the blue line, is 90 degrees. So that's how I show that by this symbol here. That means it's 90 degrees. And then the little pink dotted line I made, this angle here, is 45 degrees. So it's half of 90 degrees. And my drawing may not be perfect, but understand that half of 90 is 45 degrees. So this black line we have here is a little more than 45 degrees and quite a bit less than 90 degrees. So I'm going to go about halfway between 45 and 90. So if I count from 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, and 90, about half is somewhere around in here. And it's a little less than half. I'm thinking that this measure here is more than that measure here. So I'm thinking we're probably going to go somewhere like right around here. And that's going to put me at about 60 degrees. All right, so I'm going to say that this measure, I'm going to switch colors again here. This measure here is about, that's the about symbol, 60 degrees. Okay, we want to go ahead and pause before we go ahead and start the next one. All right, so on this one here, we're going to go ahead and show this straight line going up. I'm trying to do it as close as I can to straight. And here, I actually think I can do a better one than that. Let's go with a line here. We'll start here. Oops. We'll start here. And we'll go, oops, it's not letting me do what I want to do. Let's try it one more time. Let's go ahead and click there and go straight up. Straight up. Okay, that is about 90 degrees. And so we can mark that with this little symbol. And remember before we had half of 90 degrees was a 45 degrees. So that's about 45 degrees there. So this is 45. Now this is a really close to 90 degrees. This measure here is really close to 90 degrees. I mean, it's barely leaning at all. So I'm going to go with an estimate of about 85 degrees. So that purple little angle there is about 85 degrees. Let's go ahead and back that up a little bit. And we want to put a little symbol there to show that it's about 85 degrees. You want to go ahead and pause and try to do C before me. Okay, so this one here, I'm going to go ahead and draw that straight line up. It helps me a little bit. Now this is an obtuse angle, so it's going to be more than 90 degrees. I already know that. Let's draw this straight up here. Make it perpendicular. So we know that this angle is 90 degrees. And if I drew another straight line going sideways here, see if I can get that to go sideways here. If I drew a straight line going out this way, this angle here is also 90 degrees. And let's do this bottom angle. This whole thing here is 180 degrees. That's a straight angle. And we remember that half of 90 degrees, so right around there, is 45 degrees. And the same thing goes for the other side. If I did about half there, that is 45 degrees. So if I wanted to add, I could add 90 degrees, because that's this space here. I could add 90 degrees to this space here. That would be 45 degrees, because this side's 45 and this side here is 2. So I could add 45 degrees. Oops, I went too far. And that would give me 135 degrees. So if I went from this line here, that dotted line, all the way over, that is 135 degrees. This is less than that. And so I could say from 135 degrees to 90 degrees, I could just count by tens and figure out about, let's see, go ahead, 115 degrees, 105 degrees, and then we got 95 degrees, and then we got 90 degrees there. So I would say half of this mark here is about half of 45 degrees. So we could go and, let's see, let's go to 90 degrees. We know that that's 135. We want to subtract 45. I'm going to just ignore that. Sorry, I was just showing you guys something there. I didn't really like that. So let's go ahead and look at half of 45. So let's go ahead and say half of 45 is about 22.5 degrees. So it's going to be a little bit more than that, though. So if I added 90 degrees to 23, we'll just round that up. That gives me 113 degrees, but it's more than that. It's like about that much more. So let's switch colors again. It's about that much more. So I'm going to just round that up. I'm just going to round that up to the next 10 and say it's 120 degrees. So I'm going to say that this angle here is about 120 degrees. I apologize for this mess over here. I was going to try and do something with splitting it up, but I think that this is a better solution. So I know it looks messy, but we want to make sure that we understand that 90 degrees is this perpendicular, and then another 45 degrees would be 135 degrees, and then this is a little less than that. So that's why we ended up going with 120 degrees, or about 120 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and hopefully this next one's going to be a little bit simpler. I think it is, so let's start with making our straight angle, or excuse me, our right angle, which is 90 degrees. Making it brown instead of green. Oops, it's not quite straight. I can switch colors at the same time, so let's go ahead and try that one more time. Oops, not a line. Let's use a line. We'll go straight up. So that is a 90-degree angle. And I'm thinking that this line here, that distance and that distance are about the same. So I'm going to say that that's about half of 90 degrees. So that's an easy one. That's 45 degrees. But we don't know 100% because we're not using a protractor. So we'll say about 45 degrees. All right. And then we'll do one more here. Lesson 81. Okay, or excuse me, lesson 81, problem E. It says, at 9 o'clock, the hands of a clock form an angle of how many degrees? Well, we know from all of these that when it's perpendicular, I did one here, this in here, that was 90 degrees. Then we've got the 90 degrees here. When it's perpendicular, it's 90 degrees. And then on A, same deal. I didn't use a straight line there, but that is about 90 degrees. So when this line here and this line here are perpendicular, they're going to be 90 degrees. So at 9 o'clock, the hands of a clock form an angle of how many degrees? Well, it's 90 degrees. Additionally, if we went with 3 o'clock, that would also be 90 degrees. If I went from 12 to 6 o'clock, that would be 180 degrees. And we're talking about this measure here, that angle there. Now, they say that the 9 o'clock is 90 degrees, and I don't know if I agree 100%, because really we're going from 12 all the way to there. So that's a more of an angle. So if I know that from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock is 180 degrees, and then I know that there's a right angle here, that's another 90 degrees, we could say that really the angle is going to be 270 degrees. If we're talking about this purple angle here. It's about 200, or it is exactly 270 degrees. They wanted to know this measure, which is this pink little perpendicular line, that's 90 degrees, so this would work. But I think a better answer would probably be 270 degrees. This is the answer the book is looking for. This is Mr. Bruce thinking from 12 to 9, we go all the way around. All right, so it's 270 degrees. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson. A little bit difficult to do that one without the paper. But I hope that I was helpful in describing how these angles work and how to think about them. We need to know those. All right, have a good day.